Hi, BizHack. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to create two new kinds of custom audiences. These are going to be custom audiences based on website traffic and audiences based on engagement. I apologize in advance if you start to hear a little background noise. It is starting to storm outside, so yeah, the thunder's starting to get a little loud, so you might hear some of that in the background. But let's get this started nonetheless. So let's move. Let's start with website traffic. So website traffic, you have three options here with which you can create custom audiences. The most straightforward one is the first option, which you get by default, which is the all website visitors. So this is any visitors that have landed on any page within your website. So this is, if you're not particularly interested in just targeting visitors of a specific page, then you would use this broader all website visitors. And then you'll have to define how far back how far back it is that you want to create this custom audience out of. How many days back do you want to do it? So by default, they put 30 days. You can go as far back as 180 days, but I think 30 days is good. I think the max you want to go back, is 45 days. Really, sort of the shorter you can keep this, the shorter the length, the better. I think even 30 days back might be pushing it. I mean, I think most of us, may not remember what websites we visited a month ago, unless we had a particularly, really memorable and engaging experience on it. But at the very max, I would say no more than 45 days. I think anything more than that, then we're just, really pushing it. In all likelihood, people may not remember having visited your website, and to spend money targeting them for ads would be somewhat would be wasteful. So keep that in mind. Always keep that in mind when deciding of how far back you want to create the custom audience out of. Okay, the next option. This one allows you to get a little more granular. So these are people who have visited specific pages on your website. So this is great. If, for example, let's say you ran an awareness ad, and on your you ran a traffic awareness ad, right? And what you were doing was pushing traffic to a specific blog post on your website. This would be a great tool, or this is how you would want to retarget people who visited that specific blog post. So what you would do is you would add the URL here in this field for that specific blog post. So I'm going to kind of make it up here. So let's say this is the URL. And I'm just kind of making that up. All right. So that is a URL. So it's I want to retarget people who visited my July 10th blog post, and this is the URL for that blog post. And people who have visited within the last, well, granted, I put today's date, so kind of let's say, I don't know. Let me make this. Let me correct that. Let's say it's people who visited a June blog post. So we'll say June 15, 2018. Okay, that makes a little more sense. All right, so I want to retarget people who visited this specific page on my website. And this is my blog post from June 15th. All right, so that's less than 30 days. So it's actually okay if you left this 30 days. Obviously, you're not going to be able to go that far back because it's happened in less than 30 days, but you can leave that. But if you wanted to, for whatever reason, target people that have visited that blog post more recently, then of course you can go, fewer days back. That's, it's free text. You can add whatever you want there. And then you would name the audience. So maybe you want to name this, June 30th blog post visitors. again, with the naming convention, something that's going to be really easy for you to identify at a glance when you're looking at them here on the table. So kind of figure out what works for you. And then you're going to click create audience. Okay. Let's say another option that you can do it that you can use here. Actually, if you notice this, there's an or right over here, right? So think back at the think back at audiences when we were creating audiences and layering different types of targeting criteria or interests or behaviors. And we were creating the and or statements. Same principle applies here. So you can include people, visitors in this on this custom audience that have visited this URL or another URL that you can enter here. If you wanted to so create a combination, meaning people that visited this URL and another specific one, then you would click on and also over here. And you would include that there. So just to quickly recap, or visited this URL or another, you would add it here in the same field. If what you're creating is an and statement, so the criteria is this custom audience or people who have visited this URL and another one, you would click on that link and include that here. So keep that in mind. The other option you have, excuse me, the other option you have are exclusions. So you can create exclusions here. So people that have visited this specific URL, but exclude people that visited this one. So a quick example of that. Let's think of an e-commerce store. So I have my store. So I want to retarget people that visited the products page at my e-commerce store, but I want to exclude people who did convert and did purchase, because it makes no sense for me to target, continue to show them ads if they've already made a purchase and they've already become my customer. So the way I would do that is, all right, so retarget all of the people that viewed my products, but I want to exclude people who did make a purchase. And I'm kind of making this up as I go along. But if on my website you get a thank you page, it's because you've made a purchase. So the thank you page is the order confirmation page. You're able to print a receipt, you get the order confirmation number, etc. So I would exclude everyone who landed on this page. The only way they landed on this page is by making a purchase. So I'm excluding these people from the custom audience. So again, I am retargeting. If I were to create this custom audience, it's because I want to retarget people who were shopping and looking at the products on my page, but I want to exclude those who did move ahead with making a purchase. So that is how it's done. The last option is people that have spent the most time on your website. So you want to retarget visitors by time spent. So by default, Facebook puts the top 25%, but you can target higher percentiles right over here, 10, 5. So if you leave it like this, it's on any page on your website. If you want to get a little more granular, then you can just click on specific web pages, add that URL here, choose your percentile and how many days back you want to go. And that is essentially how you create custom audiences out of website traffic. Very, very, very powerful tool, you guys. The other option I want to show you our custom audiences based off of engagement, the last option over here. So this is engagement with video that you've posted, engagement with a lead form, your Facebook page, Instagram business profile, or event. So I'll move through each one of these fairly quickly to make sure I'm able to show you all of them. But I'm not going to be able to go into every last detail and feature that each of them have, because that's it's pretty robust. So I encourage you guys to explore them a little further on your own. But let's begin with video. So the trick with video is, always keep in mind what the length of your video is. So if, for example, if I am trying to create a custom audience out of people that have consumed 50% of a video that I used in a previous ad, and that video was a minute long in length, then this is a pretty powerful feature to use, because I'm going to be creating a custom audience out of people that have watched at least 30 seconds of the video that I that I published in that ad. So 30 seconds is great. That's high engagement. That is a high value prospect. For the most part, people kind of tend to drop off at like 15 seconds. So if you kept their attention for 30, then that's a really high quality prospect. You're going to want to use the 50% of your the 50% percentile of video viewing. But if, for example, I have a shorter length video and maybe my video was 10 seconds long, then the 50%, that would not make very much sense, because in that case, we'd be talking about people who watched 5 seconds of your video. So that really wouldn't be that wouldn't be a high quality custom audience of people that have only watched 5%. So I think you guys kind of get the idea. When selecting what percentile to use, always keep in consideration the length of the video that you're creating this custom audience out of. So if you have shorter length videos, then you might want to consider using some of these first two features. Longer length, then you kind of want to use some of these higher percentile videos. And I would also encourage you to create a couple of them, right? So create a 50% custom audience, create a 75% custom audience. You might find that maybe too many people didn't fall under this category. So you would have a larger audience if you targeted the 50% viewers in your ad instead. So, kind of play with it and see which one generates a larger size target audience that'll make it worth your while to retarget. Okay, let's say we want to go with this one. We're going to choose the video. Let's say I want to work with this one. This one's had 1,700 viewers, compared to the rest. So let's retarget these folks. I select it. I select confirm. How far back you want to go. Again, I think the same principle applies. At the very max, maybe 45 days, but you want to keep it a little shorter, a little tighter in length. So people have watched this in the last 15 days. And of course, it wouldn't make sense to create a custom audience out of people that watched a video that you published a year ago. Nobody's going to remember what they watched a year ago. So, just as a best practice, you always want to create a custom audience out of people that have consumed a video that you published recently. Audience name, I won't get into that. Again, free text. You can use whatever naming convention works best for you. And then you would create audience. And that's essentially it. That's how you would create a video viewing audience. That audience would then appear in the first row of this table here. Okay, some other powerful features under the engagement custom audience feature are, we've been talking about lead forms in class quite a bit. So you can retarget people that have engaged with the lead form that you've published. So you can, if you wanted to re-engage, for example, people who clicked on your ad, opened the form, but did not submit it, then you might want to consider this second option right here. People who opened and didn't submit, re-engage them with a new ad and see if this second time around you convince them to submit their contact information to you. So you have two other options here that you can explore. So yeah, this is a pretty useful tool. And again, this one lets you go does not let you go as far back. This one lets you go a max of 90 days back, but again, you don't want to go that far back anyways. I'm going to skip full screen experience because we really haven't talked about that in class, but that pertains to the full screen Canva ad format. Hopefully we'll get the opportunity to cover that in a future session, but I'm going to skip it for now. Facebook page. Here is where you're going to be able to create a custom audience out of people that have engaged with your business page in different ways. You can create a custom audience out of anyone who's visited your page recently. People who have engaged with a specific post or ad. Well, not with a specific post, but with any post or ad in the last X amount of days. People who have clicked on a call to action button on an ad most of the time in the last X amount of days. People who have messaged your business page on Messenger in the last X amount of days. And then people who have saved any post or page, or have saved your page. If there's any confusion as to what any of these options mean, remember you always have this you can always just move your cursor over the information bubble here, and you'll see what each of these options stands for and what you can use it for. The Instagram business profile option works very similar, and please be very cognizant of this. It's the Instagram business profile. So if you're still using a personal profile for your business on Instagram, then you will not be able to leverage this feature. So be sure to have created a business profile for your on your Instagram profile. In order for you to leverage this, that'll then get linked to your Facebook ad account. But without having converted your Instagram profile to a business profile, again, you won't be able to leverage this. But as you can see, the options are almost identical. So an interesting question I got in class yesterday was, if I have a specific Instagram post that generated lots of engagement, can I create a custom audience out of that? The answer is no. You cannot get that granular with the custom audience. But if that post was published, I don't know, 5 days ago, then what I would want to do is create a custom audience out of people who have engaged with any post or ad, within the last 5 days or 6 days, or as long as it falls within that range of days, in which that'll, as long as it falls within a range of days, a close range of days that isn't too far back, I would consider using that feature. So if it was published on Monday, for example, then I would not want to go, I may want to go, 2 days back, 3 days back, so that post falls within that range of days. All right, and the last one I want to show you guys is creating a custom audience out of people that have engaged with an event post. So if you created an event invitation on Facebook, you can re-engage people that have that engaged with that event post. So if you want to re-engage people who responded that they were going or interested, or that simply visited the event page, you have lots of different options to explore here. So this is, if you are, constantly, scheduling events, then this is a great feature to have. So, BizHack does events every so often. So if you wanted to re-engage people that have visited, a recent BizHack workshop, then this would be a good feature to use. Because again, the people that engage with your event invites may not necessarily be followers of your Facebook page. So this would be a great way of sort of keeping in touch and continuing the conversation with those people. Okay, I believe we've covered them all. So I'm really interested in seeing what types of cool creative audiences, custom audiences you guys come up with when we meet again. So if you have questions on any of these features, reach out to your coaches. Feel free to reach out to me as well. And I am looking forward to seeing you guys in class again. I'll talk to you soon.